What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive right into our first news. Paddy Pimblett has gone off on Arman for what he believes is blatant copying, and he did not hold back at all, with fans online praising Arman for what they are calling a generational run on social media. Jumping from stream to stream and appearing on every interview possible, Paddy clearly feels that the attention is coming from imitation rather than originality. According to Paddy, Arman is following the same blueprint he used to build his own name, and that has clearly struck a nerve. During a recent appearance on Full Send MMA, Paddy reacted strongly to Arman's recent media run. He pointed out how Arman has been bashing him across multiple platforms, constantly mentioning his name in order to stay relevant, while Paddy admitted that the strategy has worked and that Arman has gained a lot of new fans over the last couple of weeks. He made it very clear that he is not impressed by it in any way. Paddy said that Arman is trying to be him on social media, copying the persona, the attitude, and even the way he presents himself to fans. He mocked Arman for suddenly trying to appear relatable, joking about burgers and pizza, while saying that Arman should stick to caviar and the lifestyle he actually comes from. The message was clear. Paddy believes the whole act is forced and not authentic. He also addressed comments where Arman has openly said that he hates Paddy and finds him pretentious. Paddy brushed that off, suggesting that Arman is only saying those things to drag his name into the conversation and build hype around himself. In Paddy's view, Arman wants to bring him down because of success and visibility, not because of any real personal issue. Paddy went even further, saying that Arman acts like someone who thinks everything should be handed to him on a silver platter. He implied that money and privilege have shaped Arman's attitude, and that this is exactly why the copying feels so obvious. Overall, Paddy's reaction was sharp, sarcastic, and very on brand, making it clear that he sees this whole situation as imitation, not competition. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to support the channel. Moving on to another news, Diaz has finally broken his silence, and it is clear that he is not happy with how the last year of his life unfolded. After being absent from the public eye for over a year, with many reports claiming he was in rehab and working on getting his life together, Nick has now spoken out and shared his side of the story. According to him, the situation was far more complicated and painful than people realized. Nick explained that he feels anger toward the people who allowed this to happen to him, claiming that those he believed were closest actually played a role in keeping him locked away. He suggested that their actions were driven by personal motives rather than genuine concern for his well-being. This frustration did not stop there, as Nick also directed criticism toward his brother, Nate Diaz, saying that he is upset with the people Nate keeps around him. On Instagram, Nick addressed everyone who has been talking about his life and attempting to control it. He made it clear that this would never happen again. He stated that he was locked up for over a year, and that the individuals he trusted the most kept him there for their own benefit. Nick also called out an older man who has been presenting himself as a spokesman for the family, saying that this person should be discredited and no longer listened to. Nick went on to criticize YouTubers who sided with that individual, accusing them of being scammers who spread negativity. He explained that because of all this, his circle has become much smaller, but he now understands why that is the case. He made it clear that he values loyalty more than ever. Despite all the negativity, Nick showed appreciation for the people who truly stood by him. He praised his wife Kayla, saying she always had his back and never tried to hold anything over his head for her own benefit. He also mentioned Martin Sano, calling him a real one who has been there since day one, no matter the hate. When speaking about Nate, Nick said he does not fully understand his issue, but urged him to cut out the talkers in his group and keep things real. He ended his message by encouraging everyone to enjoy their lives, stay positive, and appreciate their freedom, while hoping things can eventually settle down. Moving on to another news, Arman has made it clear that he is willing to give up everything for a shot at UFC gold. During a recent appearance on Demetrius Johnson's YouTube channel, Arman spoke openly about how much the UFC belt means to him and how far he would go to achieve that dream. His words showed a level of hunger and obsession that immediately caught the attention of fans. Arman admitted that the UFC title means more to him than anything else in his life. He said he would gladly give up all his money, all his watches, and all his cars if it meant he could finally wrap the belt around his waist. For Arman, it is not about luxury or status, but about fulfilling a lifelong goal that has driven him since the beginning of his career. He explained that when you want something badly enough, you are willing to sacrifice everything to get it. As he spoke, Arman described the feeling he believes he will have once he finally wins the title, saying just thinking about it gives him chills. He also talked about legacy, mentioning how many title defenses champions are remembered for. Arman confidently stated that he wants more than just one reign, saying he would love to defend the belt 3 or 4 times, if not more. His mindset was clear. Winning the title would only be the beginning. The conversation then took a lighter turn when Arman joked about just how eager he is to fight. He laughed and said he would even step in as a backup if needed, joking that he would be ready to replace Kayla Harrison and fight Amanda Nunes if the call ever came. While clearly said in a playful tone, it still highlighted how willing Arman is to compete anytime, anywhere. Overall, Arman's appearance showed a fighter completely locked in on his goal. Moving on to another news, Dana White has officially shut down the idea of Conor facing Jorge Masvidal, and he did not sound interested in entertaining the matchup at all. With excitement building around the UFC's upcoming White House card, fans have been desperate to know which fights could land on such a historic event. Ever since it was announced that the UFC is planning to hold a card at the White House, speculation has been running wild across social media. Ahead of UFC 324, Dana White sat down with TMZ Sports and addressed the growing curiosity. He explained that once the fights from the weekend are wrapped up, the UFC will immediately shift into matchmaking mode. According to Dana, meetings are scheduled early in the week, and from Monday through Wednesday, the promotion will be focused on building the White House card. He added that the UFC expects to have everything dialed in by the second week of February, meaning the structure of the card should be finalized around that time. While that does not guarantee immediate fight announcements, since contracts still need to be negotiated and signed, it does suggest that fans could start hearing confirmed matchups sometime in February. One rumored fight that has been making the rounds recently is Conor versus Jorge Masvidal. The idea gained traction after Ali and Masvidal teased it publicly, sparking massive discussion online. However, Dana made it clear that he is not buying into the hype. When asked about the matchup, he dismissed it outright and referred to the whole idea as goofy. Dana even joked that his social media algorithm shows him almost no MMA content, and he does not pay attention to what he considers online noise. In his view, the rumors surrounding Conor and Masvidal were nothing more than internet chatter. Michael Chandler also weighed in on the situation, reacting on X by pointing out how easy it is to generate headlines these days. He sarcastically stated that he could neither confirm nor deny the rumors, comparing them to claiming he landed on the moon last week. His response added another layer of skepticism to the already shaky idea. Interestingly, Bisping seemed far more open to the matchup. He argued that Conor versus Jorge makes sense from a business perspective, especially for Conor's return. According to Bisping, Conor is a massive star, and the UFC would naturally want a favorable and entertaining matchup. He also said that the sport is better with stars like Conor involved, and that the magnitude of a White House event would sell itself. Bisping went on to say that while the event does not need Conor, John Jones, or Alex Pereira to be successful, the UFC would still want to put on something spectacular. He emphasized that Jorge is entertaining, Conor is entertaining, and the two going toe-to-toe would guarantee fireworks. Despite that support, Dana's stance appears firm, leaving the rumored fight firmly shut down for now. Moving on to another news, Ali Abdelaziz has thrown a massive idea into the mix by pushing for Justin Gaethje versus Conor for the lightweight belt. While Conor's actual return to the cage is still uncertain and has been questioned for years now, the talk around him potentially fighting on the White House card has been growing louder by the day. With Dana White recently shutting down any talk of Jorge Masvidal facing Conor, it seems a new name has stepped into the spotlight. Speaking recently with Submission Radio, Ali Abdelaziz discussed what could be next for Justin Gaethje if he secures the interim lightweight belt at UFC 324. During that conversation, Ali made it clear that he is far more interested in a major grudge match than an interim title defense. In his words, he suggested scrapping the interim belt altogether and instead booking Justin Gaethje versus Conor on June 14th, tied to America's 250th anniversary. Ali painted the picture as a massive spectacle, saying it belongs on the biggest stage possible. Ali did not stop there. He took direct shots at Conor, claiming that Conor has been running from Justin for most of his career and that his options are limited right now. According to Ali, if Conor wants relevance again, this is the fight to take. Despite their long-standing feud, Ali surprisingly gave Conor some credit, acknowledging that he was once a very good fighter and that can't not be taken away from him. However, Ali also emphasized that there are levels to the sport, and in his opinion, Justin Gaethje is now operating on a completely different level. He pointed out that both fighters are around the same age, but their career trajectories could not be more different at this stage. For many fans, the idea feels like something pulled straight from 2020, and that sentiment is understandable. While the matchup would undeniably generate attention and headlines, it is difficult to imagine Conor committing to another cut down to 155 pounds in 2026. Still, with the White House card looming and big names being discussed, Ali Abdelaziz has made one thing clear. He wants Justin Gaethje versus Conor, and he wants it to be as big, loud, and dramatic as possible. Moving on to another news. The UFC released fresh training footage showing Dan Hooker grappling with Israel Adesanya, and it was exactly as entertaining as fans expected. True to their personalities, the session featured more trash talk than actual grappling, with both fighters constantly chirping at each other. The playful banter kept the mood light as they joked, teased, and mocked one another while rolling. Instead of intense competition, the focus was clearly on having fun and keeping things loose in camp. Fans loved seeing their chemistry on display, with laughs, jokes, and friendly trash talk stealing the show throughout the entire exchange. Moving on to another news. Dana White has responded to the growing backlash surrounding the upcoming White House card, as momentum and debate continue to build around the event. Dana has been doing multiple interviews recently to hype the card, which is shaping up to be one of the most unique events in UFC history. However, despite the scale and attention, not everyone on the roster seems excited about the idea of competing there. Several fighters have already voiced concerns. Brandon Royval made it clear that he is not interested, saying he would rather fight in front of real fans than a crowd full of politicians. He even compared the concept to Hunger Games vibes, suggesting the atmosphere feels uncomfortable and disconnected from what makes fighting special. Sean Strickland echoed similar feelings, stating that he wants fans to be more involved instead of the arena being filled with random political figures. Paddy Pimblett also weighed in, explaining that the limited attendance is a major issue for him. According to Paddy, the crowd would be so restricted that he likely would not even be able to bring his own family to watch him compete. For a fighter who feeds off crowd energy and fan support, that alone makes the event unappealing. With criticism continuing to stack up, Dana White was asked directly about the situation during an interview with Bloomberg. When questioned about whether fighters might be reluctant to participate due to political overtones, Dana pushed back hard on that idea. He said he does not understand how the event could be considered too political, other than the simple fact that it is being held at the White House. Dana pointed to history to support his argument. He explained that past presidents have openly been fans of different sports without those sports becoming political. He mentioned that George Bush was a big baseball fan, Obama followed the NBA closely, and Trump has been a UFC fan. In Dana's view, none of those connections ever turned their respective sports into political battlegrounds. Dana's response made it clear that he sees the backlash as overblown and believes the focus should remain on the fights themselves. While some fighters remain skeptical, Dana appears confident that the significance of the location and the spectacle of the event will ultimately speak for itself. Whether that reassurance is enough to change fighters' minds remains to be seen, but Dana is clearly standing his ground and pushing forward with the vision. Moving on to another news, the UFC is being called out for what many are describing as horrible treatment toward Tom Aspinall, and the backlash surrounding his recent situation has sparked serious debate. Tom Aspinall learned the hard way that not everyone lives by the saying, "Don't kick a man when he's down," and one of his teammates is especially fired up about how everything played out. Immediately following Aspinall's no-contest fight with Ciryl Gane in October, the heavyweight champion absorbed 2 brutal eye pokes that ultimately forced the fight to be stopped. Instead of receiving understanding, Aspinall was hit with a wave of criticism for not continuing. Even Dana White stopped short of fully backing him, refusing to clearly say that there was no way Aspinall could have kept fighting. This reaction shocked many fans, especially considering that for months prior, Aspinall had been praised almost daily by the MMA world for his dominance and professionalism. More recently, Aspinall's teammate Modest Bukauskas spoke with MMA Fighting and gave an emotional defense of the heavyweight star. Bukauskas said that seeing the online backlash made him feel terrible for Tom. He described Aspinall as the ultimate company man, pointing out that he took a fight on just 2 weeks' notice against Sergey Pavlovich and has patiently waited on the sidelines for John Jones. According to Bukauskas, Aspinall has done everything the UFC has asked of him and delivered incredible performances, often finishing opponents in the first round. Bukauskas emphasized how quickly fans forget those accomplishments. He said that people instantly turned on Aspinall simply because he got eye-poked, questioning whether any of those critics had ever experienced something like that themselves. He then shared his own experience, explaining that he has been badly poked in the eye before and that his vision was blurred for a long time. In one instance, he said the damage affected him for nearly a year, especially after repeated eye pokes. He went on to say that in Aspinall's case, the poke was extremely deep and severe, making it completely unfair for people to attack him for not continuing. Bukauskas made it clear that most of the critics would not have been able to fight either under those conditions. Once doctors released details about how serious the damage to Aspinall's eye was, including the need for surgery, much of the criticism finally died down. Despite that, Bukauskas believes the damage has already been done. He described the backlash as absolutely horrible, but also suggested it could serve as extra motivation for Aspinall moving forward. In his view, the incident has added another log to the fire, pushing Aspinall to come back even stronger. Based on what Aspinall has said about Ciryl Gane since the fight, it is clear there is no shortage of tension, and any potential rematch would be fueled by real emotion and unfinished business. That's it from MMA Pulse News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for your daily dose of MMA news.